Wow. Greetings Wanderer, this is Atlas here and welcome to The Void. Today I'm going to be reacting and breaking down a song called Severing the Chains of Fate from a Trauma Center Under the Knife 2. What a mouthful. This was the winner of one of the latest polls in my Patreon, and as you can see here, it won over Gradius Gaiden. This is a very underground / obscure nomination, I have to say. I've never ever in my life heard about this particular video game, Trauma Center. But from the looks of it, it looks like some sort of ER, you know, emergency room sort of video game, animated style, you know. But other than that, I have absolutely no idea what this is about, even less so the music. So I'm looking forward to it. Onward. Let's see here. Yeah, Severing the Chains of Fate from Trauma Center Under the Knife 2. Boom. Okay. Oh, that piano round was awesome. That glitch transition I didn't expect. Wow. The glitch transition again. This is very interesting. I mean, the composition as a whole. Starting to fade out. All right, that's it, right? Yeah, there we have it. Okay. Well, this is a very surprising track, I have to say. It has, you know, very different genres. It makes fusion of different genres, and it also has this Nobuo Uematsu sensibility, Final Fantasy kind of thing, but not in the most obvious way, I suppose. That's the term I'm looking for. Or it's not explicit, it's more in an implicit way. What we also hear in the drums are like going places all the time. Like we have drum and bass and the drums, but also more of a relaxed kind of trip hopish kind of drum pattern in the what I would say could be perceived as the chorus of the song when you hear the choirs and so on and so forth. But you know, we're going to be talking more in depth about those things in the breakdown. So let's break it down. Okay, so I would like to talk about the very much essential characteristic that this track has, which is of course that is quite synthetic overall. Even the most, what you would consider the most organic instruments are very synthetic, because I believe they are being played by a synthesizer. You know, like arguably the very scarce brass and string sections that there are in the song, which are very, very, you know, tamed, very inconspicuous. They are there, but they are not like the main part of the song. They are there as a supporting role, because we can hear even a trumpet at the end, at the beginning of the song, but then we can hear more of the contrabass, and I don't think the cello will be involved in there, but let's throw the cello in there just in case. But you know, you hear in the lower end that you can hear like the contrabass going on. Although it could be like a contrabass patch on a synthesizer or something like that. But anyways, I digress. The point is that the song overall is very synthetic, even in the instruments that are supposed to be quote unquote more organic sounding. And of course, I've talked about this before, and you know, the fact that the song is so has this characteristic overall always makes me think about tech, you know, about bleeding edge technology, something futuristic or something current, but it is very advanced technologically. So what I think this translates in the video game, or part of it is that this video game takes place either, you know, in an emergency room that is very super bleeding edge, it has the best equipment or something like that, or it's very renowned by their scientific research, you know, medical research and so on and so forth. And they are basically the best of the best, let's say. But of course, that like the synthetic part plays a role into translating that into the music, in my opinion. But there are other things that the music is trying to communicate that doesn't have anything to do with it being synthetic or whatsoever. But we're going to be talking more in depth about those things later in the video. One of the other points that I want to talk about is how high energy this song is, and I'm going to be more specific into what plays into making this song very high energy. You know, one of them is the tempo of the song. The song is fairly fast, and I've talked about tempo in previous videos, and I said that faster tempos tend to create an emotion in the listener that, you know, it's something. It creates sort of a desperate emotion, or you feel like there's something that is like the stakes are higher. You know, I think that would be a better term to use. The higher the tempo is in the song, I believe the listeners tend to have this emotion of higher stakes, like something is about to happen, or something is like, you know, fast-paced, like you need to pay attention to the most minimal acute detail, because otherwise if you fail into something, it's going to be absolutely fatal, you know. And you can translate that very much to a trauma center or an emergency room, you know. People's lives are at stake. So if you're having you know, like a surgical procedure or something like that, having these kind of songs while you do that, of course, is going to translate very well, because the stakes are very high. The life of a person is in your hands, so the stakes are very, very high. So that's how the tempo of the song translates into what could probably the main premise of the video game. Like I said before, I've never played this. I'm getting acquainted to it just today, or well, the day it was nominated. But in general terms, just by the tempo, you can see how that can very much translate to some or bleed, like the premise of the video game bleeds into how the song is composed and written in the tempo of the song. Now, I want to point out too that the tempo of the song is given, or the giveaway for that is the drums. Very specifically, the you know, this drum and bass kind of breakcore-ish drums that we hear along the track, which are fairly present along the track. You know, after we hear the intro, we hear the pattern straight up going in. Even when the choirs comes in, that then makes the transition again to this pattern, to this drum and bass pattern, and it's very much sustained towards, you know, probably most of the song. And speaking of the drums, I think they are so important in the song, because they are leading to the song to a certain degree, or I should say that to the most degree, because the drums are the ones that are creating the most tension when it's playing the drum bass pattern. But it's also the element that creates the most space when the chorus comes in, because it changes. Now, of course, we have transitions where we don't hear the drums, and that creates a lot of space too. But since the drums are fairly present throughout the track, of course, a change in the pattern, in the drum and bass pattern, opens the track a lot for things to happen. And of course, you got the first glance or glimpse that we have in regards to that is when the chorus comes in with the leitmotif of the song. You can hear that the drum pattern breaks, and it changes to something that has more space, is more open, and then it transitions again to the drum and bass pattern to create the tension again. Now, I want to talk briefly about some final things about the song that I thought were particularly interesting, and that is that we hear a lot of chimey, sparkly sounds, you know, synthesizers with major arpeggios here and there, thrown here and there, very inconspicuous, you know, very in the background, but they are there. They create like a sense of hope, you know, in all these sort of ordered chaos. Also, we can hear that the transitions in the track are made either by piano runs or glitch, or very long sustained notes or chords throughout the track. I think that happens very specifically after we hear the first part of the leitmotif that we hear in the choir. You hear this very long transition that is played with an organ, a sustained organ note. Another thing is that we even hear a part that is very drum and bass slash breakcore kind of thing to do, which is odd time signatures. And I believe that we have a very specific section of the song that actually have. And since odd time signatures always, well, not always, but most of the time when they are, you know, exotic, let's say, or rare, they throw you off from the flow of the song. That also creates a sensation of, you know, tension, suspense, what's going on. And to finalize my comment, I would like to mention that this track has, like I said before, this essence of Final Fantasy. Like the arrangements in you know, in these chimey, sparkly synthesizers with, you know, with the major arpeggios and so on and so forth. The choirs, how the choirs are composed. You know, the transitions. I mean, there's so much going on here that are very reminiscent of Final Fantasy. And I wonder, I don't think Nobuo composed this. I don't think he did, but or maybe he did, I don't know. But certainly has a lot of influences from Final Fantasy. And this could be a track that could be played in Final Fantasy IX, I believe, because I did a breakdown for a Final Fantasy IX track that had this kind of... I mean, it's not exactly the same as this track, but it certainly went out of the box in that regard, if you compare it to what the original soundtrack of Final Fantasy VII was. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this track a very high silver badge. It's almost a golden badge. I liked a lot the glitch transitions, the piano you know, runs were fantastic. And also, I think that the thing that I liked the most were, of course, how the tempo and the drum pattern were like the leading elements to create the whole sense of tension and translated the very premise of Trauma Center Under the Knife 2. Severing the Chains of Fate. There you go. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon in case you want to sway the vote towards what I'm going to be breaking down next. Also visit my Ko-fi profile in case you want to make a one-time contribution, or my Ko-fi store in case you want to make a personal request, or my Teespring shop where you can get merch and all that jazz. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.